When you do that, you're just basically telling yourself, I'm supporting you. I'm supporting you, and you do what you say. Your why to understand, no, 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 no. The way you're going to build things is unique, and that's your superpower. It really took me a long time to get that. I'm deciding not to do it. And I feel when you arrive at that point, you're truly aligned. I would reconnect to why you decided to start a business, because no one asked you to. There is a fire within you that is this why, and it needs to lead everything you do. So even if you can serve one person, this is a success. Just reframing that is so powerful, so powerful.
Welcome to another episode of Fully Blooming. I'm so grateful to have Maud with me today, and we're going to speak all about alignment in building your own business. And I know that we've both been through journeys in this industry, and it's a journey, definitely. And I really wanted to bring her on today because I listened to one of her workshops, and it was the first time that I really felt that someone had been through the same. And I thought I'd been on my own in this journey, and it was really, oh, I remember my whole body just being like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. There's someone else who's doing this as well. And so I reached out instantly, and thankfully we managed to schedule this episode. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, then thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ola. It's interesting because this question is always like, where do I start? Yeah, how do we introduce ourselves? Always like, I find this like quite interesting. So I'm going to start with the fact that I'm a woman. I am French, but I've been living in London for the past 12 years, I think, 10, 11, 11 years. I am a mindset coach. So I mainly work with women on confidence related matters, whether they are in business or whether they want to build their own business or whether they are in a life where there is something slightly off and they're not really sure what it is. I'm also a yoga teacher, so I teach classes in London and I host yoga retreats in Europe. And I'm also a mom of little dragons, as I call them, Balthazar and Olivia, 6 and 4. So yeah, life is full on, but pretty aligned, pretty aligned.
I love that. And I think that's the thing that we want to speak about, this alignment with your business. So could you share a little bit about your journey? I know that you mentioned it in the workshop as well, but just a quick summary of how you got to where you were and kind of what were your key moments or key points of, okay, this isn't working. I need to do something differently.
Yeah. So I started when I was made redundant as an investment banker, and I really saw that as an opportunity to leave that industry where I was dreaming about it for like years, but I couldn't see how to make that happen. It was like I don't know what else to do. I can't do that. We live in London. We have kids, so it was very much like a blessing in disguise when it happens. After the ego being hit massively, you're just like, oh, but this is good news. And I wanted to do something for me. So I trained as a yoga teacher, and it was very much, I just want to challenge myself in something that I love. And after that, obviously, I was like, I want to share that with the world because this is just truly magical. And I started my business thinking very naively, but I love this version of me as well. I really hug her massive. It's quite brave, but basically I thought, well, I know a million people. I have a good network, my husband as well. They're going to talk to their friends, and I'm going to be like successful like this. It didn't happen at all. At all, at all. I can't tell you, Ola, how many classes I taught from my living room in London with no one showing up on Zoom. A lot. Really, really, really many, many, many. And I realized with this happening that there was something that was missing because I was sharing from my heart, but at the same time, it wasn't working. So I digged into that and understood that there was a lot of limiting belief that were holding me back. I didn't really believe that I could work. I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to make a living out of it. When you come from investment banking, it's very much time is money, you need to work hard. And there was a lot of why would people would flow with me? Why, so all of that was blocking me. And I really went on a journey in terms of identifying this and uncovering that. And then I was like, okay, what do I do with that? So I started to work with mindset coaches because I've been working with coaches since I started. Really identifying where do I need help and then finding that support. And I love that so much, this mindset coaching. I didn't even know it exists. For me, coaching was like life coaching or health coaching or career coaching, but mindset coaching, I was like, what is this? And it was exactly what I needed. And once I've discovered that, I also realized, well, what I like to teach on the mat when I'm teaching yoga is to bring people on a journey. So it's almost like coaching on the mat. And this came as so complementary to what I was doing. So naturally, I decided to train as a mindset coach because I was like, oh my God, I want to do this as well. And then I became a mindset coach. I had my yoga teaching on the side. And then one thing after another, I decided to host retreat that came a little bit later. But again, because I've been on that journey mindset wise, before I was like, who am I to host yoga retreats? And here we are. And I've hosted 2 retreats this year and I'm planning 3 next year. And so all of that comes down to believing in myself and really allowing myself to be like, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to make it happen because I'm going to support myself to make it happen. So yeah, this is my journey.
I'm sure so many people are listening to that and thinking, oh, okay, yep, I totally see myself in so many of those stages, right? Of the kind of, yeah, I'm doing this from a place of love. Why is no one coming? Trying everything. I mean, like, okay, something's not clicking. But the fundamental bit is that you keep going, right? You don't let those things
Exactly.
stop you. Were there any moments where you felt, I can't do this enough?
Never. Never. And I think but that's something that I think it's probably the way I was raised. My parent never put any limitation on myself. And I'm very stubborn as well. So there is probably an element of that, but I've always had grit in anything that I was doing. So I brought that into my business. And I was like, I'm never going to quit. It's not an option. And there was also a point as to when I was like, thinking of taking a part-time job to kind of feel safe while I was building my business. So yeah, it was never a question of stopping. It was always a question of how can I reflect on what is happening and how can I do things differently. And I am pivoting all the time. Wherever I go is truly where I want to go. And I haven't shared a big history of fitting in. And it's come from the fact that I was born with a left eye ptosis. So I was born with an eye that was almost closed. I got surgery when I was younger, but I always grew up feeling, oh, I'm a little bit different than everyone else physically. And when you're young, it's like, oh, what are people going to think? Why I have like an eye that is closer to the smaller than the other ones, and because of that, I've always wanted to fit in. So no wonder, I studied finance and then went into investment banking, like all my friends at the time. And doing things differently it was a big, I had to completely deconstruct and unlearn everything and create new belief. And even in business, I had to also do the same. Like, okay, what everyone is doing around, it doesn't matter. But when you start, obviously you're looking at all those role models and just like, oh, she's so successful. Okay, what is she doing? Oh, she has an online studio. Let's create one. Oh, she's hosting a retreat. Let's do that. And you completely forget to just have that connection to you because you're in the do. Like, I need to do this. I need to have a website. I need to be on Instagram. I need to talk on Instagram all the time. And it's so easy to lose yourself completely in that and then be like, well, nothing is working. Well, obviously, because if you're not doing things from a place of what is it that lights me up, then surely, you can be successful because I see a lot of people being successful. But if you're not connecting to that success, for me, it's like, I don't want that type of success. I really don't want it. So yeah, that's quite interesting to reflect on that and to notice how you can bring certain behaviors into even when you do new things. They're still there, and you need to constantly uncover them to be like, okay, why am I doing this way? What's the voice inside me that is kind of doing this? Is it my empowered voice, or is it one that is like, my investment banking voice, or my inner child voice. And yeah, it's a daily work of being curious and reflecting constantly.
Mm, all of that. There were light bulbs just popping off as you were speaking. That was magic. And I think, yeah, so much of that. There's so many aspects of that that I want to touch on. But firstly, that was the story that I actually remember mostly from your workshop of you saying, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to make this work in any way, shape, or form. And if that means taking a part-time job, that's what happens. And I think I remember you saying that you didn't end up taking that part-time job, but even your dedication and your commitment to that, to this working, things start to roll, right? And I think that's the thing, that's the challenge that I think people come across. It's like, is it a failure that I'm looking for a part-time job? And yeah, if you come from a kind of very corporate background, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't work in a cafe or something. It's like, no, but you're committing to your dream. You're really, this is it. This is, if it's aligned, then it's aligned. And there's no kind of standing to it, right? Like this is better than this. It's all, yeah, that story really, really stuck with me.
Yeah, and I think it's also part of yourself building that self-trust. And I think that's where things started to click because I was like, okay, well, it's taking me some time to attract clients. So there is like something that I need to do there. So what's the quick way to support me? Well, it's to get a part-time job. So let's do that. So it's and when you do that, you're just basically telling yourself, I'm supporting you. I'm supporting you, and you do what you say. And I think just that and honestly, like printing CVs and going into all of the Fulham shops, like bookshop, a bakery, coffee shop, like flower shop, and just like, hi, just that. It tells your system, I'm here no matter what. And then it helped me really build trust in myself, like I can do it, I can do hard things, and I'm here to really support myself all the way. And then things started to click because I built that self trust, but also because I was reassuring my system. Like my nervous system was not, I need to sign a client to feel safe and pay my bills, but it was like, it's great if it happens. And it's something that I have in everything that I do. Even if I do a workshop or if I host a retreat, it's like I know till the very end. And also because I know that I don't do things in isolation. Even if an event has a date, for me, it's like all the things you planned before, during, but after. It's not like it's gone and, we park it. So many things happen after. So it's really like a philosophy that I have. It's no matter what. And yeah, I'm going to make it work. And I trust that by doing that, things will be successful.
Mm, very, very inspiring. And I think that was the second point that I wanted to touch on. It's the support that you have worked with coaches, that you are working to work through this. And I think for me, especially, and probably I'm sure other people as well, there's this belief that I have to do everything on my own to prove to myself that I
Yeah.
can do it. And it's almost, yes, there's ways, as you just said, of we can support ourselves by doing certain things. However, also it's absolutely necessary and so supportive to our nervous system as well to ask for that help and to realize, okay, I don't know everything in this way, and maybe someone does know something better or a different way of doing this, or they can shift something about myself. And I think we've had similar experiences with certain coaches of that worked for them, so this is what you do. And that felt very out of alignment with me,
Yeah.
and it really taught me how to check my alignment, because there were so many instances where I was like, I'm exhausted. I feel burnt out. I don't feel excited by what I'm doing anymore. It's almost pushing me away from what I actually want to be doing initially. And that was a huge lesson in, okay, what is my alignment and how does that feel within my body and within kind of the exterior of what I create? But yeah, I think you shared a little bit about that of, the Instagram as well, the shoulds. And if it's worked for one person, then why on earth is it not working for me? So yeah, if you could touch a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many things to say around that. So thanks for bringing it. For me, you're always on your own in that sense. You're always in front of yourself. Like, okay, this is what I do. if you're really honest with yourself, Maud, this is how you want to do it. And the fact that I love to work with coaches is because they're here to keep you accountable, but in your alignment. I remember a conversation with my coach last year where she was like, you really want to create that? If you can have anything that was successful, would you create that? I was like, no, absolutely not. And she was like, well, don't do it. And I was like, I don't know why you want to do it. And it's just having this, this almost neutral voice, bringing your, reflecting things back to you, even if I don't do everything that I do. And there are so many things that my coach does. And I was just like, I'm not available for that. And I really own it now. But again, it took me some time to be like, oh, she's doing that. Maybe I should be selling my offer like this. Because I was like, well, I'm not the first yoga teacher or the first mindset coach in the world. So surely I'm just going to do like everyone else. And it's just that there are like 7 billion people in the world, so I will find my clients. It took me a while to understand, no, 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 the way you're going to build things is unique, and that's your superpower. It really took me a long time to get that. But what I want to say all on that, and to anyone listening, is that you will know deep inside you if something is aligned, because if it's aligned, it's going to be like the fire within you is going to talk, and it's going to feel so effortless that you're going to be like, I don't mind sharing about this offer every day on story, because I mean, like, it's amazing. If something is not aligned, you will feel a resistance in your body. You will feel like, I'm not really like into talking about this fast action bonus, like the first to sign up will get that. You will feel that. Your body never lies. Never, never, never. And I learned how to identify those red sign, like do 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 do, not, no, it's like, let's not do it this way. And that's where I think, yeah, it's important to be connected to you. And that's where working with people that don't do the thing the same way as you is also interesting, because that's where you step in your power. Even if, my coach is doing this, I'm deciding not to do it. And I feel when you arrive at that point, you're truly aligned.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, I think that I definitely found this with Instagram of people are doing this, 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 and it over time, because even though my Instagram was very curated and I was like, yes, this is people I want to follow, but over time I realized it was infiltrating of like, well, they're doing it this way and this way. And so when I was coming down to create something, I already had these preconceived ideas of, well, that's what it should look like. And to actually step away from Instagram and kind of really step away from all of that and be like, what do I actually want to do? Truly, what do I want to do?
Yeah,
And as you said, do you really want to do that? And you're like, oh no, no, that doesn't feel good at all. But I love that question. If this is
absolutely
something,
not.
yeah, you're like, oh, and it feels like such a weight when you say, oh, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But yeah, I think also in this industry that we're in, it's very much because we're being of service to other people. It was, I don't know if you had this similar experience, but I
Mm.
definitely went through this thing of it's almost my obligation or it's my role to show up all the time, or, this is a feeling of responsibility. And actually, it was like, well, yes, and what's my responsibility to myself as well? That's priority above all else.
Yeah. I think one of the important way to kind of decide where you spend your energy or not is where doing this is neglecting me. Because when you're a space holder, your energy is your currency. That's how you serve your client the best. And when I say client, I don't mean people paying you. I mean your community on Instagram. I consider them as my clients. So when you feel this is neglecting yourself, that's again where you go down the route of misalignment, because you're never going to find, it's not going to feel good for you. You're going to feel like you're overgiving, and it can't be the right way to run a business. It's never is.
Hmm. And so if someone was in the first stages of setting up a business, they've got an idea and they've got that, oh yes, I really want to share this with the world. And maybe they've signed up to a program, maybe they're going through this, I think the initial process that a lot of us need to go through to be kind of like, what do I want to do and how do you even do the basic things? Um,
Yeah.
what would you suggest to kind of start tapping into that alignment and what feels right, especially in those beginning stages where I think it can be so overwhelming?
I would reconnect to why you decided to start a business because no one asked you to. There is a fire within you that is this why, and it needs to lead everything you do. So I would reconnect and constantly ask me why is it that I do what I do? I would test my services, my product with as many people as possible without having to make a living from the get-go. So you really are in this exploratory phase of connecting with people, seeing the transformation of what you do, and kind of refining, because I completely understand that you don't know from the very beginning exactly what you want to do. Even if you have this deep connection to your services and why you're here, it's what shape or form it will take. It's normal that it takes time. So I would do that. Also, make fun, like test, learn. Everything is learning. I would constantly reframe failure is feedback. There's no failure. Podcast, whatever you do, this mission that you have is bigger than yourself. So even if you can serve one person, this is a success. So I would really like see where you can have fun. I'm helping people to, change their life, whether it's through coaching or through feeling better in their body with yoga. I mean, this is this is nothing too serious. I'm really here to kind of, yeah, bring that lightness into what I do. And also because I want to have fun. I work like 12 years in investment banking, not having fun. So you can run a business in alignment, having fun and not working days and night. And on that, because I really, it's easy for me to say that. I mean, it's easy. I can feel that people could feel, well, it's easy for you to say that because now you're successful. So yes, there are seasons in business and there will be seasons where you work more when you launch, when you're at the beginning. But protecting your energy is always like a good decision. And for me, it's like also a decision. It's like a CEO decision, it's so I would add that as the last point, really protecting your energy and looking after yourself, because the way you want to do things, it will come up from that. I have my best ideas on the yoga mat all the time. It's just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Or I problem solve. I wanted to do this, but I wasn't sure how. Now I found a way. And that doesn't come if you're constantly on the go. It will not come.
Mm. Oh, I can feel like pennies dropping for people. I'm hoping. Just be like, oh, okay. And to see someone like yourself having made a successful business of it, to be like, okay, so this is possible. This is the way that is possible for me, whether it's a different route or a different industry. But I think it's that, yeah, not needing to burn out, not needing to work 24/7 to make that money, but also what you said so importantly of it's not about yeah, that energy of when you feel like you need a client to pay the bills, people
Yeah.
can feel that. And they're like, "Ugh, I don't want that." And you're the same. If I receive an email, I instantly know whether that person has done it because they're in a place of lack or fear, or if it's just
Mm.
free flowing and they couldn't care less whether I'm there or not. They'd love me to be there, but there's not a need for me to be there. And I think that was a very big kind of penny dropping for me moment of, okay, I need to seriously work on the energy that I'm projecting out there. And that is just coming back into myself first and figuring out, okay, where is this coming from? And I mean, yeah, I think setting up your own business is one of the biggest journeys that you can go internally. Yes, you're putting something out there, but it's so internal.
Yeah, and one single simple question to ask yourself is, if I could do anything, but I was not paid for it, what would you do? You'll find, because I see a lot of business owners as well who launch from a place of, I want to serve, I want to support people, I want to be of service, and they lose that connection as the business grows and as it became like more of a mini company. And it's how you connect back to that. Like if there was like money was not a problem, time was not a problem, what would you do? What would you do it? How would you do it? And from that voice, you find those answers. And then, because you've built self-trust with yourself, you make that happen. It's never about if, it's like when. I don't know when, I don't control everything in life, but I trust myself to make it happen in any shape or form. It will happen.
Mm, absolutely. And you also touched on it earlier that you pivot, things change. What we think, I've definitely been directed down some paths to learn something from that, to actually for nothing physical to have come from that. And to be like, oh, okay, back onto this track. But it's funny how, yeah, life kind of takes us on this. We think, yes, this is what I'm working towards, this is what I'm doing. And actually it's like, nah, you just had to do something or learn something in that area.
For people listening, if you reflect on things that you labeled as failure at the time, I'm sure you've learned so much. An example for me is to work with not the right coach. But I've learned so much from that. So sometimes we see that as failure, but it wasn't at all. And I think it really helped me to understand being aligned with myself and working with a line coach. So really, if you feel there are moment in your life where it was such a big failure, how can you look back at that and maybe reframe? And that's usually what I do with clients on the first few sessions, because you could see how it's holding them back, how it's something that happened even years ago is still dictating the now. And I was just like, we have to let go of that. So let's see, what have you learned from it? Oh, I've done this and this. And just reframing that, it is so powerful. So powerful.
Mm, yeah, and we spoke about this before we started the call, but this feeling of confidence, and I think especially with women, and I think there's definitely an element of, oh, but we need to keep small and we need to just hide ourselves and not be too much. And if someone is kind of struggling with that at the moment, what would be your kind of number one tip to be like, come on?
When you're connected back to how it changed your life, and if you had a client in the past, how it changed their life, it should really be the fuel in everything you do. And when you're connected back to that, it's like, oh, I'm never going to shut up. I'm never going to shut up. And also, what has been so instrumental for me is to remind yourself that whatever you have to say will land with your people. And it's not about saying things for, you know, it doesn't matter what your dad think about it, what your mom thinks about it, what your mother-in-law thinks about it, what your friends from uni think about it, because they're probably not your ideal client. And honestly, it's really like it slowed me so much to think about that. Oh, but I had live where my mother-in-law was connecting, and I was like, ah, okay, let's not lose it. But she's not my ideal client. I don't care what she thinks about what I do. I respect her a lot, but I really don't care what she says. It's really about that. When you trust that what you're sharing will land with your people, and your people are not my people, are not Ola's people. You have your people,
Mm.
and they need you. They need you to share about what you have to say. So
Mm.
it's what helped me as well is to shift that it's never about you. It's not about you, it's about them. When you create content, it's not about you. It's about how it can support people. When you do a website, it's not about you. It's about how your services can transform people's life. When you do an event, it's not about you. It's about serving again. When you do that, because I hear a lot, oh, but I don't like to be vulnerable. I don't want to share about this or that. It's for people to relate with you so it can help them at the end of the day. And that's exactly doing here, Ola. I'm sharing about my journey, and you too, not from a place of, oh my goodness, my journey is so incredible, I need to talk about it. It's from a place of, I know if I had listened to that conversation 2 years ago, it would have helped me massively, massively. So that's why I do it.
Mm, absolutely. Goosebumps. Yeah. And that's, I've even had a client say to me when I did my intuitive movement sessions in Switzerland, and they said, what I love about your classes is that it's not about you, it's about us. And I was like, ah, thank you. And before that, I hadn't really thought about it. But for them to have said that, it was this, that's exactly how I want it to come across. Of course, I'm feeling great from this and I love doing it and I'm receiving something from that, but it's not look at me and that's yeah, I'm not like that. I've definitely had to step out of my comfort zone and even doing the podcast and showing up, but it's for different reasons. It's exactly how you just described it. It is for a bigger purpose and for my bigger purpose and my bigger dreams and things for the world. So yeah, thank you for that. That's very very anchoring, I think. And finally, how can people, I'm sure they've all been inspired by this conversation, if they wanted to reach out and work with you and your retreats or attend your retreats, how do they get in touch with you and what's the best way of staying in the loop with what you're up to?
So Instagram really is where you can find me almost every day because again, I'm so passionate about what I do and you'll see I do typo all the time. I English is like I'm French, so I've learned English, but I do yeah, I write funny things sometimes, but I don't mind. I just yeah, I want to serve people. So I'm on Instagram quite regularly. You have my coaching account, Maud.Eeckman with double E and one N. And my retreat account is called Homy, Homy Retreats. And I created a brand for Homy because, again, I wanted it to be bigger than myself. I teach the yoga in the retreat, but it's just a tiny part of everything else that happened. The food, the making space, the going out for nature and exploring. And it's not go on a retreat with Maud Eeckman. It's like go on a Homy retreat to really come back home to you and find those answers. So that's where you can find me. And I'm
Mm.
always happy to connect. So yeah, even if you want to, I don't know, if you have a question on anything that I shared, it's please, I'm accessible and I'm always going to respond to your message.
Mm. And I think from this conversation, I can feel how in alignment you are. And it's just, there's none of that. The energy is just flowing so easily. And it's almost like you're so clear on your vision. And this is me kind of tapping into the energy side of it more, but it's like you're so clear on this vision and it's all just flowing so easily. And I think if people were to work with you, they would also be able to receive that from you as well. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. The retreats look amazing. When I'm in the UK at some point, I will have to get on it. Are there any final words that you wanted to share or any final thoughts?
I think just from what you said, because I've been in places where I didn't feel like that. And I remember thinking, well, you can feel like this, but I can't. And I really want to tell you that it's not true. I am not special. If I can do it, you can absolutely do it. And I know it's hard to believe when you're at the beginning and you're in a place where things are not working, but really everything is within you and you can absolutely create anything you want to create.
Mhm. Thank you. I got that message as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think we've got so much more to talk about. So maybe this is one of many episodes. But thank you so much for your time and thank you for being here.
Absolutely.